back, and he was way ahead of his time because he used to keep electric lights on so the chickens would think it was daylight.
Oh, and lay more eggs.
Yeah, long before his time.
Mm-hmm.
He was an inventor.
Mm-hmm.
But the Murrays in New York, and Murray Hill, and even the telephone, Murray Hill telephone.
Oh yeah,
they
Murray
were
Hill 9.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
and Charles Bennett lived across the street, the father of Joan Bennett and Barbara Bennett and Constance Bennett, who was in the Topper.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember Topper?
Yeah.
That was Constance Bennett. They were actresses.
Big actress.
But they were younger then.
Mm-hmm.
But he used to go off to the theater every night. And he was in the theater on Broadway.
Mm-hmm.
And he used to go off now and say, and his carriage would pull up, and he'd come out in his she said he always wore a coat with a cape and a top hat, and he'd get in his carriage, and the carriage would drive him over the Brooklyn Bridge, over the Queens, up to Broadway.
Oh, up to the Broadway.
Richard Bennett, he was a very famous actor at that time. Now this was, maybe 1910, 1911, in around that time, when Anna was in April. But she has wonderful memories of South 9th Street. And I always would have loved to take Edward back. She often said she wondered what South 9th Street looked like, but it was a terrible time.
It just became a real high crime.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
In Williamsburg section.
Oh, Williamsburg, yeah.
Oh, yeah. But that's I can tell you, Uncle Raymond, he was some sort of an officer in the transit union. He and Mike Quill, who was the head of the transit union, who spoke with a thick brogue.
Oh, did he?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Mike ruled with an iron hand. Uncle Raymond was some sort of a union representative at one time. But he was just lots of fun.
He was a lot of fun.
Lots of fun.
Yeah, he really was.
And I remember when he'd stay at Mildred's, at Dodo's house, and then he'd come over to our house and stay, and he'd say, well, at Hanley's, we have candles on the table. And remember your father got a milk bottle.
Oh, did he?
Oh, yeah, he got a wise glass milk bottle and stuck a big candle
Oh,
in it,
that's
lit
nice.
the candle.
Mm-hmm.
And then Uncle Raymond said, well, that's more like it.
I could see him being really busting Daddy's chops.
I never knew a man who appreciated a home-cooked meal because he'd been a bachelor for
a long
so
time.
long.
Yep.
And he always, no matter what you handed him, he'd eat every bit of it, and then he'd say, oh, that was such a good meal. And sometimes it wasn't such a good meal. But he just appreciated home cooking.
Yeah.
But he was...
Now, would he stay with us? Like,
he
stay over?
He was in the hospital. Yes, he was. He stayed with us a couple of times.
I seem to remember him being, like, living in our house.
Yes, he was in the hospital. He used to stay in that back upstairs room. It was after Mrs. Birmingham left. He had emphysema. And he had bouts in the hospital. And then he'd come home from the hospital and he'd stay with us for a couple of weeks. Never stayed for much longer than that.
Right.
But he did it on a couple of occasions.
He'd convalesce with you.
Yeah. And then he tried different places. He decided when he went down south, he was going to move down south. And he arrived down in St. Petersburg, and I think it was the coldest winter they ever had. And he came back that year. He said, that's it for Florida. He went down to bask in the sunshine. And, of course, he didn't bring any winter clothes with him. And I think it was the coldest winter on record.
That's funny.
In Florida. And then he was going to move up to Newburgh, because Newburgh at one time was a lovely, lovely town. And he took there used to be an Albany night boat that used to go up the Hudson River. And he took the boat up. He got off and roamed around, and then he decided, no, he didn't want to.
Wasn't for him.
He didn't want to live in Newburgh. So that's when he went down to Jersey, Cape May. He lived in that area of Jersey. And he was very happy down. He'd come back and visit every once in a while, and he always stayed for a few days. And he did come over for the first year Michael was born, with the Christmas of 1947, and that's when we had the snow.
The big storm?
big snowstorm, and nothing was running. You know, the buses weren't running, the boats weren't. Uncle Raymond was living in Brooklyn then, and he was going nuts. He really was.
Mm-hmm.
Nana had told him Christmas night, well, it's not so nice. Why don't you stay over? And he did.
And he got trapped.
Mm-hmm. And nothing was running. The boats weren't running. Nothing was running for about 3 days. And finally, he walked to the ferry to get over to Brooklyn.
Mm-hmm.
But it was a big snowstorm.
Yeah.
Big snowstorm.
Mm-hmm.
But that's about all I can tell you about Uncle Raymond.
Now, how old was Aunt Dodo when she died? She was quite young,
She
right?
was 42.
42, which would make you how old? Because she was older than you, correct?
Yes. Yeah, I was 39 when Franny was born.
Right.
And I turned, she was 42. She was 42 or 43. I know she wasn't as old as my father when she died.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she was about 18 months old.
Oh, only 18 months. Okay. And she died of a heart-related ailment, correct?
Yes. She died. Well, she had rheumatic fever.
So she had a weakened heart.
She had a weak heart.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. In fact, when she was in her senior year in high school, she had a terrible attack. She had attacks when she was a little girl. I can always remember. And she missed a whole year in school. That's why she was only 1 year behind me. She should have been ahead of me. She was 1 year ahead of me.
Oh, she should have been
2 years ahead of me.
Okay.
But she missed out on so much school in that year. She had to repeat the year.
Mm-hmm.
That was back when she was about 8. But in her senior year, my Nana sent her down to Florida with the help of Uncle Jack.
Oh, I
With
see.
the help of Uncle Jack.
He was sort of the benevolent
he was.
father figure that was
Oh.
helping everybody through hard
Oh,
times, wasn't he?
You know, that's why I don't like cigars, but you come in the door, because we never locked our doors, and at Ridgewood Place, and we'd come in and I'd smell a cigar.
You'd know he was there.
I'd know it, because he always stopped.
Mm-hmm.
He'd come to St. Louis, come to New York,
On his way up to
and then
Saranac.
he'd get in New York and go up to Saranac.
Right.
And he'd always stop and stay over.
Mm-hmm.
And Nana would cook dinner for him, and we'd always buy ice cream. That was a big treat then. A quart of ice cream was...
A real luxury.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It cost 60 cents. You didn't have
Oh.
60 cents for a quart of ice cream.
Right.
But I could always come in the door and I'd smell the cigar and I'd know it was Uncle Jack. And then every once in a while we could get him interested in something. Like a couple of times we got him interested in the jigsaw puzzles.
Mm-hmm.
And like he'd stay an extra day.
Oh, just to do the puzzle?
He'd get so interested.
Yeah, funny.
Oh, he was just so wonderful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm sorry I never met him.
And as I told you, he never left without checking the cold.
Mm-hmm. No, he sounds like a kind of a person that would just quietly make sure everything was okay.
Very quietly. When Mildred had to go away, he took her up to stores on Fifth Avenue and bought her summery clothes.
Mm-hmm.
And he said it was so funny. He got a big kick out of it because she was senior in high school. So 18, and they thought he was a sugar daddy.
Oh, sugar daddy. Oh, okay.
They thought he was a sugar daddy. He was buying this stuff. I remember he
For this young girl.
He bought her a nice suitcase, a traveling suitcase.
Mm-hmm.
And she was down there not quite a year, but almost a year. Because they didn't know what they know now about rheumatic fever,
Right.
and the climate was not good. They said the climate in New York was not good.
Mm-hmm.
The dampness, the cold,
Yeah.
so. And Nana had a friend who worked with her, and she had friends in Miami,
Mm-hmm.
and Uncle Jack kind of arranged for, and he paid for it. It wasn't a lot,
Mm-hmm.
but maybe $7 a week or something like that back then.
Now, did she go to school there?
No,
No,
she never
okay.
finished her senior year in high school.
Okay. Was her death sudden? Or was it something that...
Oh, like your father, there had been a couple of warning things.
Oh, okay.
That you didn't pay attention.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like she was going shopping with Aunt Mildred, and And she was going down the subway stairs, and all of a sudden she kind of,
Like passed out.
yeah,
Yeah.
blacked out. And she was she complained to me of pains in her arm.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember she was talking to me, and it was not long before she died. She said, I think I'm getting arthritis. And I said, well, you don't get arthritis, she said, all of a sudden, she said, I'm getting all these pins and needle pains in my
So she was
arm.
having the classic symptoms of
She was having the
Mhm.
classic symptom, as your father was having
Right.
symptoms that we didn't